Hello all, and welcome to another episode from the Central Coalition. Today's object of inquiry would seem simple enough, but as usual, we are going to delve a little deeper into the matter and explore how a seemingly simple concept can be so monstrously misused by not only the average citizen, but by so-called intellectuals, who should definitely know better. The first thing we're going to quickly cover is symbolism, specifically in the forms of meanings of words and groups of words. This idea is so important and underappreciated that it deserves mention at every opportunity. It, after all, forms every individual's entire understanding of language, and to a large extent, through this, how we interpret the world around us. To try and avoid getting down into specific examples, I'm going to keep this brief. The meanings of the individual words cause and effect should be relatively similar for everyone, though it should be noted that for many of us that these words on their own often represent a generalized form, a cause, instead of the cause, and an effect instead of the effect. The most critical thing to realize, however, is that once these individual words have individual meanings are placed together in a socially common context, they can start to take a different weighting in terms of their meaning. This is best seen in well-known sayings such as, "I have a dream," or "This is one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," which carry a very large amount of meaning, more than the simple words alone could generate. This is because the group of words have a meaning all their own, beyond that of the individual words themselves. A phrase has symbolism. It conjures up further words and phrases, even feelings, often quite different for different individuals. This can naturally also extend to individual words, such as democracy, communism, or religion. But this aspect is not so important for the phrase we are going to investigate today. So, back to cause and effect. What symbolism could this seemingly innocent phrase possibly generate that could be so potentially dangerous? A very subtle and therefore dangerous one that reinforces a very deep-rooted distortion of reality that many people have within them: absolutism, or as I like to call it, the black and white syndrome. People's desire for certainty and dislike of complication has led many down a path of narrowing their field of view and pigeonholing meanings into a very right, set and often unshakable set of rules and set meanings that they guard like rabid animals against all logic, regardless of the infallibility of the ideological stance. Though cause and effect is definitely not the main culprit for this unfortunate stagnation of thought, it is a very popular and often misused tool that through its very symbolism in most people only reinforce this dangerous mindset. Academics, particularly medical doctors and economists, and leaders are particularly guilty of perpetuating this in their absolutist comments, even if they don't expressly state the individual words in that form of cause and effect. In their presentation, their overtones are heavily weighted with a similar symbolism. And the worst thing is that they can change and contradict themselves at will, while this somehow does not automatically generate distrust and apprehension in the minds of the citizens regarding the competence of the so-called experts. Well, the reason for this is actually fairly clear for those with open eyes. Most people don't want to have to think too much, so are willing to ignore their leaders' seeming erratic directions as long as most of their core beliefs are not threatened. The way they present it, they would have you believe that one thing is caused by another, and seemingly only that thing. Being fat is caused by bad fat, or too much sugar. Unemployment will be solved by government stimulation, which for some bizarre reason always solves everything with no further consequences. Information is presented in short, simplified, and grossly incorrect statements so as to be easily absorbed by the public, conditioned to prefer information presented as absolutes. These rebels are fighting for freedom. Good. These rebels are terrorists. Bad. It has gotten to the point where a lot of people demand this form of presentation, restricting their information source to those that predetermine to categorize their information into absolutes that appeal to them. For example, Fox News or Al Jazeera. This only perpetuates narrow-mindedness and exasperates the current absolutist mentality. And where is the state to regulate this? Hiding behind freedom of choice to self-stupefy and self-destruct. It is like a child that is allowed as much sugar, fat, and freedom as they want. No surprise then that they grow further into a dysfunctional abomination. And before anyone labels this a call for the nanny state, again a symptom of black and white syndrome, a reminder that the state is also a victim of ridiculous absolutism with its blanket bans and political motivated knee-jerk reactions to current events. A perfect example of the cause and effect trap, using a parent analogy for government, does not automatically mean a nanny state. In its typical negative or positive connotations, though anyone who disagrees would love to point to this verbalization as some sort of ultimate argument. Unlike parenting, which aims to directly instill the tools necessary for their children to make an informed choice, government at the very least should attempt to assist with this most critical education and not blindly look away as social phenomenon that actively discourage it. We may not be able to stop people from making stupid choices, but we should darn well be able to stop others from actively encouraging it and making it easy. Again, a forgotten concept, an arch enemy of absolutism is what is required: balance. So the next time you hear a cause and effect style comment, this is like this because of this, stop and remind yourself, there are many reasons why something occurs. This is only one factor, seen from one viewpoint and a specific set of circumstances. Tomorrow it may change, or the person saying this may actually be willfully wrong, or simplifying to the point of manipulation. Often enough I have seen expert testimonies that A is definitely caused by B, and wondered to myself if B is not actually partly caused by A as well, and sometimes even completely so. Think of violent video games and real violence. Do violent video games cause violence? They may contribute to negligible reinforcement most of the time, I suppose, if at all, but I'm much more inclined to believe that violent people are just more likely to play violent video games. People look everywhere for an excuse. Take some responsibility for your actions. Just because things are related and affect each other does not mean one has to be caused by the other. Well, that's it for this episode. Stay safe and enjoy life. Until next time.